Hi guys, welcome back, and this time around I'm bringing you a mega multiple DD IEM comparison. It is well comprised obviously of models which have already been in the market for a while and are, let's consider, market references or market favorites, while there are also three models here which are brand new. I'm talking about, of course, the SHANLING Tino, which is here in the front, a 10 and an 8 millimeter driver. I'm talking about the SORATUNE Yi01, also a 10 and an 8 millimeter driver, and the 7 hertz X HBB Elua. This is also two dynamic drivers, I believe. Let me just confirm here. 7 hertz Elua. I don't want to mislead anybody, so let me just confirm. Yeah, I don't want a 10 and an 8, exactly. So they're all a 10 and an 8 millimeter. All these three are 10 and 8 millimeter drivers. There are, of course, other models here. Over here, I've got one of my favorite and one of the most underrated as well, dual DD IEMs, which is the Aoshida E20, again a 10 and an 8 millimeter. The curious thing is that the Aoshida, the Soratune, and the RTR1 are all subsidiaries of Let's Sure, and you can see a lot of similarity not only in the way that they are built, but in the way that they are actually everything. There's a commonality there. As I just said, the RTR1, this is a 3 dynamic driver, an 8 and 2 6s. So it's the first one that breaks this norm of 2 drivers. On top here, I have the CVJ NightElf. This is the latest version with the updated faceplate. Much nicer. Okay, this has got a 10 and a 6 millimeter coaxially mounted drivers, and then a separate 10 millimeter driver. A separate 8 millimeter driver. So this is a 3 dynamic driver. Next to that, the TRI Draco, an 8 and a 6, 2 drivers. Next to that, the TRN Whitetiger, which is a 10.5, an 8 and a 6 millimeter planar driver, all in a coaxially mounted array. So it's 3 drivers on top of each other. So an interesting configuration here. Next to that, we've got one of my favorite IEMs as well in this all DD affair, which is the ivipQ IQ14 Shanghai, again a 10 and a 6, and then a 10 millimeter. So a very similar configuration to what we have in the NightElf. Next to that, the KZ Vader, 3 8 millimeters. The Vader or the CCA Trio, it's the same thing. I've just got here the Vader this time around, and I've got here the base edition, not the Harman tuned version. Next to that, well, on top of that, I've got the Castor. I've just received the Castor Pro, and I was going to include it here, but I'm just going to leave it like this, and then I'll do a separate video just for the Castor and the Castor Pro. This is the Castor at 10 and an 8. Next to that, one of the very first IEMs as well to enter this this war of multiple DDs, which is the TRI StarRiver, a 10 and an 8 millimeter. Let me just, my apologies, but I just want to confirm that the TRI StarRiver, sorry, a 10 and a 6, my apologies, a 10 and a 6 millimeter. Next to that, the Tangzhou X HBB XuanNV, 10 and an 8. Next to that, the Truth Year 0 Red and the Truth Year 0 Blue. These two use a 10 and a 7.8. The 0 Red is an updated version of the Blue, or rather an alternative tuning, in that the mids, upper mids, and treble have been down tuned a little bit, so that they are a little bit more let's say smooth and more elegant in their presentation. Anyway, as you can see, there's a nice array here of IEMs in terms of configurations, of setups. Two drivers, 3 drivers, coaxially mounted, non-coaxially mounted. So there's I think some of these IEMs have got tuning switches, like the case here of the StarRiver, of the Vader, the Castor. Some of them have adjustable nozzles, which is the case here of the Whitetiger. But all of them have got, in my opinion, their homework done, in the sense that they didn't just throw parts together. They did. You can see that some care was taken for them to be designed, and it shows, especially with the more recent models. All right, let's get this, or let's go here by parts. Let's start here with the Elua. Elua is an X HBB collaboration. Like I said, it uses a 10 and an 8mm driver. I mean, the shell is okay. It's a plastic shell. It's not a resin shell. This is not the stock cable as well. I'm not using the stock cable. I'm using some 07 tips. I don't like the stock tips. They are way too soft. In terms of the sound, bass is the main star of the show here. It's got loads of bass. And if I have to compare it with some previous HBB now discontinued models, namely the Can, I would say that this is kind of that type of sound, but better executed compared to the one that I just didn't feel, you know, which was which is the Hades. I just didn't feel that deserved to be here, to be honest. I just, you know, I just no, this you know, if we are talking about a bass IEM or an IEM which has an emphasis on bass, this is a much better IEM than the Hades. It's got loads of bass, quality bass, you know, mids, highs, it's everything. It's a much more complete IEM. The Hades, I still to this day cannot understand what's the behind the premise, what's the idea, what's the philosophy behind that IEM. I just cannot. Anyway, sound. It's a bass heavy sound. There's not much bleed into the mids or the treble, to be honest. There's a nice clarity into the mids and to the treble. It's not, I wouldn't say a detail monster. No, it isn't. The sound that we get here from the Elua is a sound which is very much like the style of the sound that you get from the Vader. But in my opinion, the Vader is a better executed, or the CCA Trio is a better executed IEM, because you have the versatility of those switches which allow for some fine tuning. So ultimately, when you consider that they are basically the same price, actually the Trio or the Vader is a little bit cheaper than this, and the build quality and everything is, I mean, the KZ offering is better built. Let's be honest here. I don't want to, you know, sound mean or anything, but this is a better built IEM. So when you consider this is a better built IEM, it's got the tuning switches and the sound, okay, fair enough, it's 3 drivers, not 2, is as good, if not even better, than the Elua. You know, it starts making things a little bit hard to justify. Why would you get the Elua? Because it's got the HBB logo on it. Okay, fine, if that's your thing, whatever. But in terms of pure sound, in terms of performance, the Vader or the Trio are superior IEMs. And even if I have to take into consideration the Castor, excuse me. And even if I have to take into consideration the Castor, even the Castor, the base edition, in my opinion, is an IEM which is capable of trading blows and even superseding the performance of the Elua. Again, it's got the tuning switches. Again, it's got two dynamic drivers, a 10 and an 8. It's got loads of bass. You can adjust the bass accordingly. You know, there's nothing that the Elua can do which is superior to the performance of the Castor. Please, guys, I'm not here trying to beat up on anybody or say now, you know, things which are not what they are. I'm just being straight to the point and honest. Be it the Castor, or be it the Vader or the Trio, and I'm sure the Castor Pro will also be the same situation. They are all, in my opinion, not only cheaper IEMs than the Elua, but better IEMs, better built. Just the accessories, you can say, okay, are not as good, but then again, it is what it is. I mean, you can pick up a Castor, the Pro now, you can pick it up for $15. That's half the price of what you can pick up this. You know, and it's not like this brings a nice cable or anything of the sort. No. Sound-wise, which is what basically at the end of the day matters, the KZs are better IEMs. I'm sorry, but they are better IEMs. Okay, so that's basically the Elua out of the way. Going now here to the Tino, the SHANLING Tino. The SHANLING Tino follows a type of sound which is more along the lines of the sound of, for example, the ivipQ, to a certain extent as well, the RT. I would so which means that it's got like a kind of a gliding sort of bass with then a nice relaxed pinna gain with a dip after that pinna gain, which kind of brings down that excessive energy that might happen or occur there at 4.5 to 6.5 kilohertz, which can be sometimes problematic for some people, and then a nice extension past that. It is a beautifully built IEM, which is what to be expected from SHANLING, by the way. I mean, it's a really nicely built IEM. I apologize for my finger, I cut myself. It's a very beautiful IEM. It fits phenomenally well. I'm using the stock tips because they worked fine. I did try other tips, but the difference really honestly wasn't anything significant. So that in terms of the tips that they actually offered, it's quite nice. It brings one of these puck style cases here, okay, with some extra tips. I mean, it's nice. This is the stock cable, so it's a nice stock cable as well. It's an IEM that costs $79. Obviously, it's one of the more pricier offerings here. It's along the lines of the price of the XuanNV, and for example as well the R1 and even the Whitetiger. It's along those lines of prices. But you can see that there's quality here. It's well put together, and then in terms of the sound, it's got that nice warm tonality, that nice organic type of old school sound, which I personally like. And it wasn't easy for me to very quickly kind of started putting it up the ranks of the IEMs that I have here as one of the IEMs that I enjoyed listening to quite a bit. I mean, for example, I like listening to the Draco. The Draco, it's got a very nice, warm type of old school type of tonality and sound as well. But when I listen to the two of them, fair enough, there is a price difference here of around $25–30. This has got just that little extra amount of detail that the Draco maybe is missing up top. It's not huge, but it is enough to give certain genres, and especially female vocals, just a little bit extra more life with the Tino. So overall, bass clean, it's dynamic, it's fast, it doesn't linger. It's a nice, clean, impactful bass. A good balance between sub bass and mid bass. It's got that gliding style of bass. Like I said, it's not a tucked style of bass like you get on the Vader or you get here on the Aoshida. Mids, upper mids, and treble, again, very safe, very easy, non-obtrusive, elegant in its execution. It's just a very easy to listen IEM. Perhaps where you might find it lacks a little bit is in terms of its overall technicalities, where that compromise of being musical, technical, has always its thing. So, if in an attempt to find to create an IEM which is more musical, more organic, it loses out in terms of the technicalities. Detail retrieval is okay for the price. Imaging is okay. Surprisingly, the soundstage is actually quite nice. I was actually impressed. The soundstage is actually one of the better technicalities, along with the timbre and the tonality. Those are the two standout features there. So that's it. That's in a nutshell the Tino. And then finally the Soratune from the Yi01 from Soratune. Also another IEM which is coming from the staples of Let's Sure, the Aoshida, the R1, they all have the same type of genes. Of course, not the stock cable, as you can see. The case, just for you guys to understand why I'm saying this about the Aoshida. That's the case of the Aoshida. That's the case of the RT. That's the case of the Soratune. It's always the same case, so they're definitely coming from the same place. In terms of the tips that they bring, again the same thing. The cable, everything very similar. The only thing here that I'm not obviously using here on the Soratune, as you guys will have already picked up, it's the cable. It's a ivipQ cable. Sound, again, it's got a very nice, easy to listen sound. It's a sound which is kind of following the lines of the Truth Here Zero Red or the XuanNV, that kind of gliding bass with that relaxed pinna gain, similar here to a certain extent to the Tino, but just better executed than those two. I mean, when you consider they cost basically the same price there as especially as the SHANLING, this is a better tuned IEM, the SHANLING. And from what I have ascertained as well, hasn't been as prone, from what I've been listening, and I've got another set on the way, hasn't been as prone to quality control issues. I mean, I had 3 sets of SHANLING that I had to buy before I found one which was perfectly matched. The first 2 sets were a total mess. I had to one I was able to retune and get it to work fine. The other one I just couldn't do anything out of it. So not exactly a good track record there. So bass, clean, detailed, smooth, very elegant type of bass, similar yet to the Tino. Great mids, no forwardness in the vocals, nothing. It's just a very, these 2 IEMs, be it the Tino or the Soratune, are 2 very easy to listen IEMs, which, like is the case of the Zero Red and the SWANV, they are also easy to listen to, but they sound lifeless by there's just a lack of a certain amount of life. When you put the impedance adapter there on the Zero Red, yes, it does bring it alive a little bit, but it's always a very lifeless IEM. You know, if on the Zero Blue you had maybe too much upper mids and treble, and that could lead to some fatigue. On the Zero Red, that bringing it back, that reining it back was, I think, done excessively, so it becomes just a little bit on the boring side, you know. Here the balance that they've struck, be it on the Tino or be it on the Soratune, has been, you know, it's been done flawlessly. It's perfect, so it just sounds very easy to listen to. These are IEMs for long listening sessions. They basically play very well most genres, and it's interesting because when you then see the graphs and you compare to some of those other 2 IEMs that I've mentioned, which have got a similar style, they always sound like the bass is fuller, the bass is got more guts to it. Okay, so that's basically it. In a nutshell, that's basically it. Now, some quick comparisons here. The Draco, the RT-R1, they have a similar style of tuning, you know, which you know, is how can I explain this? And the Tino as well, to a certain extent. They've all got a similar style of tuning, but the ones, yeah, it's not that one is better than the other, one is worse, no. But the ones, yeah, that definitely stand out when you're listening to the 3 of them, to these 3, okay, the R1, the Draco, and the Tino. The 2 that stand out are the R1 and the Tino. These 2 definitely stand out. They are more expensive than the Draco, fair enough, but they just have got that little extra more detail and technical prowess, which just edges out the Draco ever so slightly. The Draco is fine, and if you can pick it up for the price that I've seen it now, I've seen it as low as $40. You know, it's a solid IEM, definitely very solid. But it just edges. You know, these 2 stand out above above the Draco. When I take now, for example, like something like the CVJ or the TRN, these 2 are very fun and engaging IEMs. They're not the most technically capable, especially not the CVJ, but it's a very fun IEM to listen to. It's got a very nicely executed bass. The bass here and the bass on the TRN is phenomenal. Very nice, bouncy, energetic. You know, they are really a lot of fun. And the thing about the CVJ is you can pick this up for like $27. So when you consider it's 3 dynamic drivers in a nicely done shell, it's got decent accessories, and costs $27, it's one of the IEMs here alongside the Vader that starts becoming a real value for money. You know, you have to consider, okay, if I want a fun, you know, engaging IEM to take to the gym and listen to, definitely the NightElf is one IEM to consider. But now, in terms of sound balance, this is a colored sound. This is more balanced. The Soratune is more balanced. If I compare this to, again, the Elua, I would take the CVJ over the Elua. The Elua might have marginally a little bit more detail up top, but in terms of fun and engagement between the 2 of them, I would definitely take the CVJ. The Whitetiger, I've said it before, it's a phenomenal IEM. That driver that they've used there, TRN, you know, top marks. Very nice. End of story. Again, comparing it to something like the CVJ, it just makes more sense because it's just got that little extra bit more of well done execution. Now, of course, it's substantially more expensive. Okay, compared here to these three again, comparing it to the Elua, the Whitetiger is a better IEM than the Elua. More expensive, but it's better built. It's got the tuning nozzles. It's got the better cable, the case. It's got everything, so it justifies its price, and it's a more sensible and more wise choice than the Elua. Compared to the Soratune and to the Tino, they cost roughly the same thing. Okay, but they're very different styles of tuning. These two are similar, more audiophile, more correct, more musical. This one is musical, it's more fun, it's more colored, but it's well done. So it's kind of, what do you want? You want a more correct type of sound, smooth, elegant, you know, or do you want something which is more bouncy, more alive? Okay, let's put it that way. All right, so that's that there. Draco, all right. ivipQ, IQ14. Similar style of sound as well to the Tino and the Soratune. Very similar. I would say that the Soratune perhaps marginally edges out the IQ14 in terms of how the mids and upper mids transition, and then how the treble is done. It's a very minor thing, and the same thing goes here for the Tino. Although in the case of the Tino, I get the feeling that sometimes the ivipQ can keep up with it more often. Again, what the ivipQ has got going very much for it right now is the price. You can pick this up for like $50-something, and you know, it's an IEM that, like the R1, reminds me a lot of the serial, the Pennon serial. The Pennon serial is one of my favorite all DD IEMs, and the binary Dyna Quattro as well. They all have a very similar style of sound. The binary audio Dyna Quattro, the Pennon serial, obviously IEMs, one of just over $200, the other one closer to $300, the R1 around 70, the ivipQ around 50. So they are all very similar sounding. They all have the same style of vibe of sound. And you know, if you don't have the money to reach those higher ones, maybe the ivipQ will be a good way to start. But the Soratune, the reality is it does the job very nicely, very nicely. The unique thing about the IQ14 is the fact that it's got that triple driver setup, a 10 and a 6, and then a 10mm beryllium handling the mids. So that's an interesting configuration, different, not not as common. And let's see what else there. What am I missing? Oh yes, and now the E20. I was forgetting about that one. The E20. Tuck style of bass. So yes, comparing it here to the Tino and to the Soratune, you notice that there's perhaps just a little bit less mid bass on certain occasions. Nothing dramatic, but a little bit less mid bass. But you know, again, it's the balance that is overall struck, and the E20 is a really solid IEM. That's the reality. It sounds really solid. It's well built. You know, there's really very little that I can point as a negative against it. It's a little bit more detail capable than both the Tino and the Soratune. A little bit more detail retrieval. Obviously, that's the result of having more energy at that part of the spectrum. But again, very solid sounding, although it's difficult to choose which is the one that you'll prefer. If you want a more technically capable sound, then the Aoshida. If you want a more musical type of sound, then the Soratune or the Tino are the ones to go. And yeah, I guess that then now allows me to kind of position finally the IEMs here. There are IEMs here which are colored and fun. There are IEMs here which are neutral and a little bit on the boring. There are IEMs here which are neutral but fun. There are, you have a little bit of everything here for everybody. Okay, if you want fun sounding IEM that it's bouncy and engaging in terms of the budget segment, CVJ NightElf, fantastic option. Castor, fantastic. Vader, fantastic. of the three, which would be the better one? Well, the most unique is the NightElf, the most sensible in terms of what you can do with the tuning and so on and so forth. I would probably say the Vader or the CCA Trio. You know, that's the reality. If you want something very neutral, that's not gonna bug you, very safe sounding, definitely then the Zero Red and the SHANLING or the safest in that aspect. The StarRiver, which I haven't talked much about it, the StarRiver is again very technically capable. It's also got the switches which allow you to play around with the tuning a little bit, and it's also kind of a neutralish bright. It ends up being a little bit more fun than the XuanNV and the Zero Red on occasions, because it's got that little extra brightness and energy. So if you select your tips carefully and so on, you might be surprised by how good that is. In terms of neutral, well, not neutral, sorry, in terms of fun, but with some high energy, then yeah, definitely the Zero Blue still holds its own. I'm not going to deny that. But when you take the Zero Blue and you take, for example, the Tiger, the Whitetiger, I would prefer the Whitetiger unquestionably. And then you have the IEMs here as well, like I mentioned, which are the organic audiophile type of musical style of sound, which for me, the Soratune is one of them, and it does a fantastic job. The R1 is another one that does a fantastic job. It's got a neutralish kind of warm type of sound, which is very nice, very agreeable. Same thing with the ivipQ, the IQ14, the Tino and the Aoshida, a little bit more already on the brighter side, so a little bit more detailed, but also a lot of fun. And that's that, guys. I mean, it's difficult here to say, okay, this one is the best, this is the worst. What I can say is maybe, or suggest, what do I think are the IEMs that people will probably gravitate more towards to. If what you're looking for is a fun sound, the IEM here that I think most people will be able to relate themselves to, I think definitely will be the Vader and the Whitetiger. A lot of fun. Those two are obviously at different price points, but a lot of fun. If you're looking for a more audiophile correct sound, that's not as colored and is capable of doing the job properly, then definitely the Soratune, definitely the R1, or two other IEMs that do the job really well. And then there are the IEMs here, which I personally just liked since the first time I heard them, which is the case of the E20, the Tino, the IQ14, and even the Draco. I mean, I like the Draco. The Draco, if you listen to the Draco by itself, and if you choose like a source, like for example the Rose Elsa or the TP50, it plays really well. I mean, and touching on now on this issue of the dongles, the Rose Elsa, for example, on the XuanNV does a better job than something which uses, for example, the 43198. The 43198 DAC dongles with the XuanNV make it sound more sterile than what it actually can be with something like the Rose LC. The Rose LC makes it sound really much more engaging. So this is an interesting thing here to keep in mind. And yeah, guys, that's it. I'll show you now the graphs, and we'll wrap it up. All right. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section here for the 7Hz X HBB Elua, the Soratune Yi01, and the SHANLING Tino. Anyway, let's start here with the Elua. Okay, this is the graph of the Elua using the whiteboard tip that I liked using, and using the R500, the Rose Elsa DAC dongle. As you can see, a tremendous emphasis on the bass. I mean, nothing wrong there. It is a good quality bass nevertheless. A little bit, when you start comparing it with others, like for example, like I mentioned, the Vader, it's a slightly slower bass, okay, but it's a nice bass nevertheless. It's a nice bass. Anyway, it's basically flat by 300 Hertz, and then it's got a very easy kind of relaxed pina, dips, and then peaks again, yeah, close to 8K, and then some extension. I mean, it's a nice graph. I mean, you know, it sounds fine. It sounds good. It's not the utmost in terms of the detailed retrieval and so on and so forth, but it's a nice sounding IEM. Its competitors, obviously, like I mentioned, or its competitor is the KZ offerings. Okay, and when you compare it with the KZ offerings, then you start seeing exactly what I mean. All right, I've got here, and I'm going to show you first the Castor in the 0011 setting, which basically means that I'm not emphasizing the bass, and it's just a cleaner type of sound overall. It's got the stuck style of bass instead of gliding. You don't really notice the lack of any mid-bass slam, to be honest with you. And the Castor just sounds, the driver just sounds somewhat quicker, somewhat more incisive. Maybe as well the fact that it's got a little bit more energy up top here, it's also helping, but it sounds cleaner. And on the other hand, compared with the Castor, with the KZ Vader, the bass edition, in the 110 setting, which is the one that emphasizes the bass. And as you can see in that setting, let me just take away here. In that setting, again, a more, in my opinion, more balanced execution of the sound. Be it the Vader or be it the CCA Trio, they basically graph the same. I've mentioned it quite a few times. That they are the same IEM. It's 3 dynamic drivers. I mean, if you guys want, I can just quickly show you here the trio so you guys can see that I'm not just saying things for the sake of saying. Trio, CCA. There we go. And now we're going to look for the 1100. I believe this one here is it. There we go. Okay. CCA Trio 1100, the same setting as the Vader. And as you guys can see, I mean, they graph exactly the same. It's the same IEM. That's it. I mentioned it earlier. I mean, if I was to choose, considering the price that you can get the Trio for or the Vader, it just makes more sense for me, the Trio or the Vader. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not beating on the Elua in any way, but it's just the reality. You know, I think the biggest disappointment, honestly, if I have to be totally honest, is that the Elua just looks cheap by comparison when you put it next to the Vader. The Vader or the Trio, they just look more serious as an IEM. All right. Anyway, that's the CCA. The KZ Vader. Take that out of the way. Compared with the Elua and with the Castor, so we can take those all out of the way. Next, what I'm going to show you now is the SHANLING, the Tino, okay, and that's this graph here, and it's again a nice tuning, sub bass focus, basically flat by 300 hertz. Pin again, nice and progressive, peaks at about 3 and then starts rolling off, so got a kind of some harmonish vibes, nice extension past 10k. I'm using the stock tips like I mentioned, and it just sounds really solid. And you know, the similarities of it compared to some of the other IEMs that I like listening to, namely one of the that I did mention was the ivipQ. I'll show you now the ivipQ. You can see there's a lot of similarities here. The ivipQ doesn't have as much mid bass as you would think here. Yes, the lower mids are slightly more bodied, but not a big difference. And then the upper mids, treble, all of that's basically the same. It's very similar. The other IEM that also kind of has similar vibes to this is where is that here? Where is it? No, because I'm trying to find with the gliding style of bass. Where is it? The Soratune. There we go. Soratune. The Soratune also kind of has similar vibe in terms of the overall style of tuning, although at the lower levels. Let me just take away the ivipQ. So as you can see, similar style of tuning as well. A little bit less bass, but it's the overall balance that struck. I mean, look, if you take that 100 hertz point that I like doing, if you take that 100 hertz point there and you transport it over onto the side on the Tino, you can see it's over above 2.5 is where it goes above, but you have nice bass there to compensate. So nice, smooth, warm, musical, just organic, very nice to listen to. You take the Soratune, do the same thing, and it's exactly the same situation. Nice, warm tuning. It's just very elegant, very easy to listen to, non-fatiguing. It's just a very nice tuned IEM. Honestly, these two IEMs are very, very nicely tuned. Compared then to some of the other stuff that I selected. Let's put here, for example, the NightElf, so you guys can see the NightElf. You know, graphically, when you look at it this way, you think, okay, there's not going to be much difference now. There is in terms of the treble, upper mids and treble, both the Soratune and the Tino have got significantly more energy. The NightElf, let me just leave here the NightElf for a second. The NightElf is, and this is the Reef, the new faceplate design. The NightElf is just a fun, engaging IEM. It's not the ultimate in terms of detailed retrieval and so on and so forth. It's a fun IEM. It's great to, you know, it's just very easy to listen to IEM if you're looking for a fun presentation. It's very much like the Whitetiger, for example. I'll put now the Whitetiger so you guys can understand. Whitetiger number 14 here. Actually, let me just make it a color that can stand out a little bit more. Make it in red so you guys can see it in red. Okay, the Whitetiger, the same situation. Nice, fun, engaging sound. Just more detail up top here, which kind of just compensates and finishes up certain songs better. But Whitetiger and CVJ very similar in their sound. The price difference here is significant. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. So, you know, but both of them are unique IEMs. Both are using 3 drivers, unique the setup. The price of the CVJ is fantastic. And so, if you want fun, you know, it's a good way to start having that fun. Let's now here show you something else. For example, let me show you here the RT-R1, exactly number 11 here. So RT-R1 11, okay. Nice, easy to listen to IEM as well. There's a mod that was actually now created by Michael Bruce, which lowers a little bit here the mid bass, which opens up the mids. I still haven't done it, but I'm gonna get my hands to it and do it and see how it grabs and how it sounds. But I like the sound of the R1. And the R1, okay, the Draco, which I'm gonna show it to you now. Here we go, the Draco number 15. You can see also has the same sort of style of sound, but the R1 has just got more detail up top. It's a little bit more lively up top, even though it's got more bass, it just sounds cleaner, okay? And these two, again, when we take something like the Zero Red, where is the Zero Red? Zero Red. Zero Red, yes, exactly, number 20. And this is without the impedance adapter. You know, looking at the graph, you would say, okay, that's not too bad. But when you actually listen to it, it's not that the Zero Red is bad or it sounds bad, but it just sounds too thin because it's lacking a little bit of energy here in the mid bass, which it should have. It's not so much this area here which is the problem. This part here is actually okay, it's not too bad, but it just lacks a little bit of energy there. Yes, they have compensated that with the usage of the impedance adapter, which is number 12 here. Okay, and when you put that impedance adapter, let me just take away the other two so you guys can see, it does boost the bass slightly, but it still continues being a very, it's a somewhat boring IEM. I mean, look, it's not bad, it's just a little bit boring. We're talking about a 7 dB pin again. The bass is nicely done, yes, but it just lacks energy here in this part of the mid bass. Okay, when you compare then the Zero Red with something like the blue, the Zero Blue, which is this one here. Where is it? I hope I have it here somewhere. I think it's exactly Zero Blue. The blue, the biggest difference was that it had more energy in the mids, upper mids and treble, which ultimately made it a little bit more fun. Maybe you noticed more that disparity between let's say subwoofer and then the rest of the range. Yes, you did notice that separation a little bit more. There wasn't such a flawless transition as in the blue. The blue that sorry, in the red, that transition or that way that those parts of the spectrum come together has been done nicely. So the black line here. While in the red you do notice that disparity, but at the same time it's a little bit more fun. When you take these two, for example, and you now throw in something like the XuanNV, and the XuanNV, let me just also quickly, I'm just going to leave here the blue. The XuanNV has got an interesting thing, which is, depending on what DAC you use, it does change slightly the sound. So XuanNV, my apologies, XuanNV, exactly. Okay, this is the XuanNV using the R500, like the red as well with the R500. In this setup, I have to actually say that I do end up liking more the XuanNV because it doesn't sound as lifeless. When you use it with something that has a CS 43198 or 43131, and I tried quite a few dongles, the bass comes down quite a bit, so it becomes substantially thinner sounding, and it then becomes very bland as well. I mean, you know. And then when you take these two, for example, and just take away, yeah, let's just compare the XuanNV, because this is the one that I want to show it to you now next to the Soratune. When you take, like, for example, the Soratune here, and you put the Soratune next to it, the Soratune is just a better sounding IEM. It's more fun, it's more engaging. The graph would never tell you that, but it's just a better sounding IEM. Or if you take the Tino, again, the same situation. Similar style of graph, but it's just more fun, more engaging, more satisfying. The timbre and the tonality of both the Soratune, and which is the red, and the green, which is the Tino, is just more pleasant. Okay, I don't know. This is just my opinion. I'm not beating on anybody. Please don't think that of it that way. I'm just trying to be as honest and as sincere as possible. Let me just put here as well the Aoshida. I was forgetting to show you the guys, the Aoshida 18. The Aoshida, yes, it does also have a little bit of that issue of lacking a little bit of mid-bass impact over there in that transition from the sub-bass into the bass. Let me just take away some of the others and leave here just the where's the Soratune? We're just going to leave the Soratune with the Aoshida. Yes, exactly, 19. Okay, it does lack a little bit of the mid-bass impact. And you do notice that disparity somewhat, but somehow they've been able to do it, and I guess it's because of this emphasis that they've got here of the sub bass. They've been able to match it in a way that the E20 just sounds more matched, more coherent overall than something like the Zero Blue or the Zero Red. More so the Zero Blue, because of that extra energy that it has up top. You do notice that separation of sub bass and then mids, highs, and so on. And that's that. Oh yeah, I was forgetting. Yeah, the TRI, the StarRiver, an older IEM, but one that again, you know, suffered a little bit of criticism. Oh, boring and this and that. But when you actually see it here next to the Soratune, you see that the tuning of the bass is very similar. It's just that extra energy that it has up top. That's in reality the thing here that maybe will make it more vocal centric. Yes, it's more detailed, more capable technically, but you know, it is again what it is. And that's it, guys. I think I've basically showed everything. I mean, Whitetiger, fun IEM to listen to. The Truth Here is Blue, fun, interesting IEM, but there are better things at that price range. The Zero Red with the impedance adapter ends up being an interesting choice, or perhaps even maybe the better choice if you really want to go for something like that. The RT R1, fantastic IEM. I mean, I really can't focus or can't mention more, because it is a really good IEM. And that's it. That's basically it, guys. I think I've basically showed you everything. Just gonna leave you here once more with the graphs of the Soratune, as you can see. Okay, the Tino number 21 here, so you guys can see it. Again, nice IEM. And the Elua, I believe I already erased it, I think, because I actually still have it here. And here's the Elua, so you guys can see it. Okay, guys, that's it. All right, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I'll see you in the next one. You take care now.